Hello. I thought I would have thought a more creative entrance than that, but recently this channel's got to 5,000 subscribers, which is crazy considering I haven't posted anything in like 6 months. But I thought, as sort of a, I don't know, catch-up makeup video for all that time lost, I'd show you my little mad scientist laboratory and some of the projects that I've been working on I haven't made videos on yet. So if there's something you see you think it'd be cool to learn about, or for me to do a video about, just call me. Call my phone. Okay, anyways. Let's start with here, my grand collection. As of the last year, I think, for some reason, I've been collecting VHS, which is one of the most useless hobbies of all time because they have virtually no resale value. But I have a pretty large collection here, and I'm proud of it. What I've also been doing is, because I have a VCR I bought, I've been recording modern movies on VHS, which is kind of insane. So here we have It, Halloween, the 2018 version, an entire season 1 of Stranger Things, and all the artwork that is done to make the covers. People online just design VHS covers for modern movies because they're just as crazy as I am. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You can record over any VHS tape, but the best quality is if you have one of these, if you're lucky enough to find it at a thrift store. It's a blank VHS tape that's designed specifically for recording over. This guy has been unopened, sitting in someone's shelf for the past 30 years until they decided to sell it, so I was lucky enough to get it. So I don't know which one I'm gonna record over this one yet, but if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Up here, this isn't finished yet, but if you recognize these are the swords from Adventure Time. He has 3 main ones in the show, so I'm gonna hopefully print out and design a few more. But these were all fully 3D printed on my Ender 3, and then hand painted afterwards, or spray painted and then hand painted. It's not the best quality in the world, and if I actually swung like this at someone, it would definitely snap into a million pieces, but looks pretty cool. But the piece de resistance, the true encapsulation of all my effort into 3D printing, has gone into this guy. This, if you are not aware, is a Demigorgon head and partial torso from Stranger Things. We had a door decorating contest at our apartment complex. Actually, I lied. I thought we were going to, but we didn't. So it took over, I'd say, maybe 2.5 days of printing and like hours of painting for me to mount it on my door and for the apartment complex to say, oh, we're not doing a door decorating contest this year. So they say that we'll have a Christmas door decorating contest, so I think I'm just gonna tape this to the front of the door again and put a Santa hat on it. It's not beautiful, but I thought it's a really cool project and a really cool Halloween decoration to have. So for fans of the channel who've been here for a long while, you might recognize some of these artifacts or things in previous videos. For example, this guy, I think I've had this for 10 years. I made it from some wood planks and pieces of a cereal box. It was a Legend of Zelda chest thing, which is, honestly, this thing is falling apart. Maybe I need to make a better one, but there's a little Easter egg for you. And over here, my prized possession, not really, but almost, is a Quest 2. A lot of you might recognize this as the Meta's most recent VR headset. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've done a few videos on it in the past. And you'll also notice, because I'm a huge fan of 3D printing as well, there's like a dozen things in this little space that have been 3D printed. So like all these wall mounts, this little mount for my phone to stand on so everything can be charged in a neat little place. I also printed these little gun grips with the controller so I can feel more like a gun guy. I don't know. I've only ever shot a real gun in my life, like maybe twice. And over here, this is where the magic happens. So I'll show you that in a second. That's a project I've been working on. This is my computer. I built about, I don't know, 5-6 months ago. It might look like crap to someone who knows a lot about designing and making computers, because this is the cheapest case I could afford, because I spent all my money on the graphics card and CPU and everything else. So this looks like garbage. That's because I didn't have any money to buy a case that looks good for everything inside of it. But a lot of the personal projects and stuff that I've made, I sort of keep in my space. Looks very disorganized, but I guess that's sort of me. So, for example, on occasion, I gather, as the kids say. I play Magic the Gathering, and so I thought it'd be cool to design my own case for cards. So this one, because I'm a huge VHS fan, I designed the cover for this thing, which isn't a mini VHS case. It's actually a little box, a card case, and then in the back here, there's a little drawer for dice and stuff like that. I was actually considering starting an Etsy store where I make and design these, and I guess I still am, but I just haven't had the time to figure it out. So if you guys think this would be cool and something you'd want to buy, let me know and I'll make it for you. Not for free though. I mean, come on. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, these things are pretty cool, gonna go unnoticed. It might not look very impressive, but I learned a lot in the process of making this. So all these 3 pieces were milled out of a lathe, a metal lathe. So you might see a lot of wooden chess pieces, which are done with a wooden lathe. A metal lathe is basically the same thing, except it needs a lot more impressive hardware because it's cutting out of metal. So I designed these little guys with that. That was for a class project. That was pretty fun. In fact, Hannah, can you hand me the knife? This thing. Okay, well, let's retry that. This thing. Okay, I need to adjust the spring. This was for my CNC class. This was my final project. Me and a group of other guys who I know very well, we designed, it's supposed to be a well-functioning switchblade, and all these parts that you see, except for the pins, were CNC'd, which means that they were milled out with a CNC machine, which is a machine that basically, kind of like a 3D printer, you give it a file and then it creates out of plastic. You give the machine a stock of metal, so let's say a 2x2x2 cube of metal, you give it a file that you want it to cut down, and I'm oversimplifying this a lot, but essentially it will use all these little drill bits and milling parts to mill out the part that you want out of metal, which is insanely cool. So everything on this was designed in a 3D software and then sort of printed out with a mill. So, all right, one more time. That was even worse. Okay, moving on. This is one of my it's a good thing that didn't break. One of my more recent projects of trying to use photogrammetry. Now, if you don't recognize that devilishly handsome face, then you must be blind, because that face, that's my face. So I really like the idea of digitally recreating my head and making like a marble bust of myself, because I'm vain like that, I guess. So I use a software called Meshroom, and I can show you kind of a project that I've been working on. Essentially, Meshroom is a free software where you can give it images of an object. For example, here are images of a mountain range of the Rockies. And then the software will take those images, compile them, and make a 3D model based off of it. So I had Hannah, my darling, my love, take like 50 pictures of me just dead-faced, trying to remain still. And then with Meshroom, I recreated those pictures of my face and then plastered it onto some historical figure. I don't know who this guy was, but some other bust to make my own. This was the first version where you see I look like a Batman villain, and this is number 2 after I did some touch-ups in Blender, which is a free 3D software. So, cool. Now we get to the real heart and soul of my laboratory here. This is my Ender 3 Pro I got for Christmas last year. I have done so much with this thing. It's almost unrecognizable to when I first started out with it. For those of you who are 3D printer fans, you might notice that I have a glass build plate. A lot of the features here, like the drawers, the fan cover, like this tool holder, all those things were printed afterwards to sort of mod the printer. And I've done a few other things as well. What you might not recognize is this nifty little pen rack. And you might be like, what the crap is this? Why do you have a pen rack on your 3D printer? Well, that is so you can make colored prints like this. This came off the build plate exactly as is. So typically a 3D printer, you give it plastic, for example, in this reel. This is all blue plastic. It'll print your model in that color. But if you give it clear plastic, and you have some hardware and software mods and upgrades to the printer like I've done, the printer head, after it prints one layer of clear plastic, will move up, will pick up one of these colored Sharpies, will move back down, as you can see, and then in that layer it just printed in plastic, it'll color over it with a pen, which means that you could have multicolored prints like this without having to exchange different filament types or filament colors. All of it's done in Sharpies. So if that doesn't look super impressive, the main project that's done with that is this. I've 3D printed Catan tiles, and only a few of these were actually hand painted, like the trees that were painted because they didn't have a green Sharpie, but everything else is just clear plastic with the machine using Sharpies in between each layer to give it color. It's not perfect, but I think it's insanely cool and adds so much dimension and like so many more things that you can make with this thing. What else? Oh, actually I said that this was the heart and soul. This is not the heart and soul of my space here. Behind here, and if you want to get a good image of that, is maybe I'll get it for you. This is a collage that my amazing girlfriend made of. So was it our anniversary or was it my birthday? I forget what.
I think it was your birthday.
I think this was one of the best birthday gifts I've ever gotten. She made of us. I need to put that more. I don't know. I need to hang it up where more people can see it. But yeah, that is kind of the last few projects I've been working on. So I'm always working on new stuff, but I don't really have time to make videos on them because I'm doing school, but I'm graduating this semester. Finally. I mean, assuming that I pass my classes. then we'll see if I graduate. Thank you for watching. I hope you took some interest in the things that I've been working on and hopefully are inspired to start your own projects and working on things yourself. And as we always say on this channel, go get 'em, Tiger. Okay, you can cut it.